Good morning, Paul. It's Monday, the 8th of May. Here's the heads up brief for today. For the Southeast Asia production, we covered 14 issues. In North Asia, we covered 3, and for Australasia and the Pacific Islands, we covered 2. In South Asia, we covered 10 issues, plus the major issues in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And before I get into that, Paul, whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm in Jakarta. I'm in about 20 k's south of the central business district, just having some meetings with some resource companies here. I'm on the way to Timor-Leste via eastern Indonesia. I'll be in Timor from about the 15th to probably the 25th. A couple of projects for an oil and gas company, but right now I'm in good comms. So go ahead.
All right. Um, in Thailand, Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, who was the prime ministerial candidate for the United Thai Nation Party, has urged politicians and voters to avoid any attempts to reform laws connected to the monarchy. This comes as the opposition Move Forward party has been surging in polls, and one of their promises is to attempt some sort of reform.
Yes, I mean, look, some things in life are not negotiable. The monarchy's position in Thailand is not going to be one of those negotiable positions, and as much as everybody has a view on it, there's a reason there's been so many coups. A lot of pundits predict that the only way there can be a outcome is if there's civil war, where it erupts, coups can no longer control it, keep the monarchy installed. I don't agree with that, but at some point there does need to be perhaps lay majest needs to be softened, and accountability by politicians needs to be increased, and everybody will need to move their position a little bit to have a sustainable outcome. Thank you.
Right. In Timor-Leste, ahead of the elections, according to polls, the National Congress for Timorese Reconstruction has most public support. They are led by Zanana Gusmao, and they are in the opposition currently.
Yeah, look, I think we can expect them to win the election, and Zanana Gusmao to be the PM. Other than sporadic events in the campaigning, there's not going to be any real impact to businesses. Businesses clearly need to, just consider your need to be driving through a political demonstration. There's no reason people can't go to Timor-Leste. Shouldn't be affecting projects, but it just needs to be that 1 or 2 hour check when there's a build-up of political campaigning. All those dates are actually published by the government and by us in advance to our clients. But clients outside of Delhi, clients in some of the remote towns, there has been a couple of incidents, but we're talking more than 100 kilometres away from Delhi. So people need to keep this in perspective. Timor-Leste is very small when you have a very large-scale map, but a lot of these incidents are a long way from Delhi. People shouldn't look from too far, from a satellite from too high, down on the ground, 150 k's is a long way to throw a rock, okay?
Right. And in Papua, Indonesia, on Friday, police arrested a Papuan for a scuffle over a petty crime in Jayapura. During his arrest, he was dead overnight. His body was returned to his family the next morning by police, and in protest, hundreds of demonstrators carried his body to Jayapura police.
Yeah, look, and this is very unfortunate. Myself, many other people have spent a long time in Papua trying to resolve these issues for the government, but they want you to mediate after violence through their own acts of ignorance, discrimination, and absolute stupidity. And unfortunately, they don't actually understand. They're unprofessional, discriminatory, and these are going to continue to happen. And if they don't change their behaviours, as much as I do not support or ever want to see Papua self-governed, because it will be a rock show to equal that across the border in Papua New Guinea. But if you want to have violence, disrespect, hate people and abuse them, you'll always get the same outcome. At some point, Indonesia needs to lessen its discrimination and hold its government officials, police, security forces accountable. And until those ethics are introduced and continue to escalate, they're feeding the TPN-TB problem. They're establishing an environment of hatred against them, and it's their own actions that are doing so. So if they want to fix it, they need to engage their brain rather than their mouth weaponry. And this kind of pertinent violence is just a cycle that at some point, hopefully, there will be a groundswell of independent thought and fairness in Jakarta, though after 27 years monitoring it, it continues to go down the wrong path. Thank you.
Right. In South Asia, in Pakistan, the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, Imran Khan's party, will protest for the next week to support the Supreme Court and demand elections be held as per the constitutional schedule. The protests are mainly in the province of Punjab, so the political deadlock continues as the government is still trying to push back the elections.
Okay, and look, I mean, ultimately, it's almost a replica of what I just said. The government in control doesn't want to have fairness, thinking, and outcome. It just wants to look after itself. Same, just a different continent.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And in India, in Manipur, regarding the recent violence, curfew will be relaxed in 11 districts today. In the last week, 55 people have died and over 23,000 people have been displaced. Hundreds of houses have been damaged also.
Okay, this is very significant. I think from a statistical point of view, we need to get all that into our database. I know you guys have already married it off against our client base and informed the client separately, but we just need to make sure that this statistics gets into the database.
Yep, we'll do that, Paul. Lastly, for Europe, the Russian Federal Security Service announced that it had foiled an attempt by Ukrainian intelligence to attack a military airfield in central Russia. This comes as Ukraine has been attempting more attacks in Russia ahead of its long-announced offensive, which hasn't come to fruition yet. Meanwhile, Russian forces also intensified the shelling of Bakhmut city as they attempt to hasten the capture of the city. This comes ahead of Victory Day parade in Russia tomorrow, which is a very important anniversary for President Vladimir Putin.
Okay, excellent. Really appreciate the brief. Thank you.
Anything else from you, Paul?
No, thanks.